Hi, this is Asian Runner, and I'm going to be talking about how good this shoe, the Nike Zoom Tempo Next Percent, performs as a racing shoe. Hi, this is Asian Runner, and this is a channel where we talk all things running, from running gear, running shoes, and running experiences. And I'm going to be talking today about the Nike Zoom Tempo Next Percent and whether this shoe is good in the race situation. Now, I've done about 150 kilometers in this shoe of a whole series of different types of runs, and on the weekend I took this out on a 10-kilometer time trial. Now, we don't have races at the moment in my region. However, I was able to take it out in a race type simulation. Also, just to say that I'm not sponsored by Nike and do not receive any royalties from them, and I also don't have anyone reviewing this video before it goes to air. Now, is this shoe a good racing shoe? Now, as we know, this shoe is marketed as a training shoe, as a complement to other racing shoes such as the Nike Alphafly and other high-end shoes. This is because it is a little bit heavier. It contains some of the technologies that the other high-end shoes have, but also has a bit more durability and other features that make it a little cheaper on the price point. And that includes not having a full ZoomX midsole, but having React foam in the heel, and also having a bit more durability in the outsole as well. Now, what makes this a good racing shoe? Well, it's mainly because some of the technologies in your high-end shoes are right here in this shoe. And it's got the technologies, and they are here, and they are in there, and they do actually help in that far higher end race situations. So as you know, this has ZoomX foam. It's got a nylon plate, not a carbon fiber plate, but a nylon composite plate, and the Zoom AirPods. And these in combination do help propel you forward, and that technology mash together a little bit, but that technology does help you run faster, and I feel that it really does, particularly in those higher end speeds. I also feel that this shoe really comes to its own more so in the latter part of the run. So when you find that your legs are getting a bit tired, then the responsiveness in the Air Zoom pods and in that plate can actually propel you forward and can help push you forward a little bit in that second half of the run. And I was able to really feel that when I was running. And finally, because of the geometries of the shoe, it really does make you feel like you are running fast. And that is, obviously a good thing. Like in the tempo work done and the speed work I've done, I've really been able to hit higher speeds, mainly partly because of training, but I think this shoe definitely helped with that. And I was able to hit those speeds because the shoe sets you forward a little bit. It tends to try to push you to use more of your forefoot and mid part of your foot rather than doing the heel striking. And then because it sets you forward, it then can push you and propels you forward as well. And that particularly came useful in the race situation. Now onto some of the bad features, and there are indeed features that may not lend this shoe to be a racing shoe. The first is that you really got to get used to this shoe. It's not the type of shoe that you can just get out of the box and run with. Now, with the Nike Vaporfly Next Percent that I own, I was able to do that. I could take it out of the box and then run. But with these shoes, not so. You've got to actually get used to them. There's some geometry you got to get used to, the fit, the lockdown, the way that it feels when you're running. It sort of pushes your running form a little bit forward, and that means that you should get used to this shoe first before you take it out on race day. The next thing is that, and some people have said this about the Nike Alphaflys as well, is that you've got to have good running form in order to get the best out of the shoe. And what running form actually means is that you're properly striking and keeping your posture correct in order to get the best out of the shoe. And that involves you leaning forward a little bit, particularly emphasizing more on your forefoot, this front component here. If your running form loses, which it can happen, particularly in the race situation when you're getting a bit tired and then your form drops off a bit, you might do a little more heel striking, then these shoes then won't really work and won't be able to correct that. And it can be difficult in that latter part of the race when you're trying to keep going forward. The next thing is that these shoes are a little bit heavy, and the weight can be prohibitive, particularly in the longer races. So I wouldn't really recommend this shoe for the half marathon and greater, such as the full marathon, and definitely not for an ultra marathon. And that is just because these shoes are going to be heavy, and in that latter part of the race, I think you're really going to feel that. So I'd really recommend a lighter shoe if you can. And finally, the stack height on this shoe in the heel is actually 46 millimeters, so it's actually higher than the World Athletics guidelines of 40 millimeters and lower for allowed shoes in official race situations. So if you're an elite athlete registered with the IAAF, you cannot use these shoes in the race situation because they're illegal, because they contravene the stack height regulation. So just remember that. So finally, would I recommend this shoe for the race situation? I'd say probably, particularly if you're looking for a shoe, you don't want to fork out for the Alphaflys, but you want to get the technology, then this is a mid-range shoe that's less expensive, still has the technology and still has some of the features that will get you a little bit more of an edge on race day, but not so in the higher end races though, in terms of higher end distances. I think it's okay to use for races, particularly also because I don't think that that's showy, and I think that's a good thing. I think that sometimes people who wear the Alphaflys, they are quite loud. People know the type of shoes they are. They sort of will then have some kind of expectation of you as some kind of, really fast or elite runner. If you don't perform, you kind of feel bad because of that. So these shoes are less showy, and I think they're going to be much better in those charity and in those sort of mid-level kind of races. And the last thing, of course, is that no shoe is ever going to replace training. So all the miles that you do and all of the hours that you put into your running and the extra speed sessions and other things that you do, they're the things that are really going to get to increase your racing speed and to let you achieve those PBs, not just whatever pair of shoes that you put on. So I'll be really interested to hear your comments. I really love to interact with the running community, and I'd also like to check out your experiences as well. And as usual, go Asian, go running.